What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the More Than Philly Sports Network. It is a new week here on the More Than Philly Sports Network. It is the 4th of May here in 2021. May the 4th be with you. Apology, I know we got some Star Wars fans out there. I've never been big into it, but hey, I respect it. People have fun with it today. They dress up and all that. I remember some of that back in the day. Tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo. For all those celebrating, happy Cinco de Mayo as well. And as always, joined alongside my co-host, the man himself, in a Phillies uniform or jersey. Not jersey. None of those. A Phillies T-shirt today because they won last night. I'm still frustrated with them. I am quite pessimistic right now about the Phillies, Gavin. Yes, I'm finally starting to come back to reality a little bit. But with all that being said, again, joined by Gavin. Tony, how are you doing today?
First of all, Zach, I'm doing great. And look, we're going to talk about your friend in just a minute. But I got to ask you. That shirt right there, is that implication of something? Can we see it?
Maybe yes. For all those who may or may not know, I know it's been hot and heavy in the social media today. A lot of kids posting their college outfits. I'm saying I'm sick and tired of smiling today. I've smiled. I'm the only person of my friends that legit is not in that stage of middle school where we're just like a little smirk or action or thinking to do cool for it. I actually do a full out smile. So I'm tired. The cheekbones are feeling it tonight. But yes, I will be going and attending Westchester University next year. I'm excited for it. I will be living home commuting, not too bad of a drive at all. We will be continuing our show. At least we will be able to modify it as we need it for our schedules, but we're looking forward to continue it. I'm excited for it, looking forward to it. And as the world begins to return to normal, we'll be able to gauge our lives further. But for now, this seems like a really good solution.
Well, first of all, I want to give you my congratulations. And ladies and gentlemen, my announcement will be coming later in the week, maybe a little bit later in the month. I mean, hell, I'm gonna pull a Bryce Harper. I'm gonna make everybody wait. It's gonna be
wait through spring training.
Wait through spring training. Wait till graduation. But no, congratulations, Zach, and that's a great choice, man. I'm happy to hear that, and we're going to definitely continue. Whether I'm somewhere, or whether you're here, the show's gonna go strong. But let's get right into it.
Good thing about this past year, we've learned how to do things from anywhere virtual. Look, we're overdue to do an in-person show too. We got to do it.
When was the last time we did that? Summertime?
It's had to be at least since late summer. We are overdue for that. We'll have to do it soon because we'll be out of school, so we'll have time to do it. But Governor Wolf announced today once we do hit 70% of adults fully vaccinated, mask mandates come off, and on the 31st, all other COVID restrictions are released. We've been very clear about this. We know that we're not yet at the end, but numbers looking great. The end is near. Keep doing your part, everybody. Go out and get vaccinated if you can. Other than that, that's all I really have on that front. We've been fighting through this last year. We've been doing our show the whole time, and things are starting to return to normal. They have been. We've been here to break it all down. I'm excited. I look forward to it, and it's been a hell of a year.
Zach, it's nice to hear that the governor say that. But two things: one, I'm actually planning on going to get my vaccine pretty soon. I held out long enough. I'm tired of sitting in my damn house. Zach, I'm gonna be honest with you. All right, I'm losing my mind. The bags in my eyes, that might be for someone else, but it's all right. But no, listen. It's nice to see things are returning back to normalcy, but let's not forget, Zach, our saying, don't lick a pole, or let's not forget that this thing this thing is still out here. And Zach, my final thing before we get into sports, just because the masks are coming off doesn't mean you can't wear them. I mean, Zach, I'm comfortable with mine. I found Gators be really comfortable, so I might keep wearing mine until we're really in the clear. You never know.
Yeah, look, it's been an interesting year. I know this weekend we are most likely heading out to another adventure, figure out what we're going to do, maybe some mini golf. We'll figure something out for sure. But I'm excited. Look, with that being said, let's get to it. We do agree on a lot of stuff, but this is probably something that we don't. It is surrounding LeBron James in many different
you already know what it is, Zach. Go ahead.
Of the game on and off the court. But I do have some interesting takes today. For those who don't know what we're referring to, because LeBron has been in the news for a multitude of reasons. For his comments, we are going to purely stick to basketball for today. And that is that he had talked the other night about the playing game and said whoever invented that expletive should be fired. That is the best player in basketball. Gavin, you said this yourself, the most influential person in sports right now, calling out someone who came up with this idea to be fired. And we don't want to see people fired. Gavin, if we ask for Gabe Kapler to be fired or Brett Brown, that's understandable. But someone with the idea. And look, I don't know how literal he made it. I'm not going to act like we're doing cancel culture and we're going to take it too literal. I get that. But that's incredibly, incredibly unnecessary and completely out of character for LeBron James to come out and speak about that. Yes, it is the first time all year he's had to think about the possibility of being in the playing game. Why is this stupid, LeBron? Because it's your first time in it? Yes, I am on your side with this, Gavin. I'm not going to side with LeBron, despite the fact I respect what he does on the floor. He's still battling injury. He's not even playing in the back-to-backs. He's been missing more games. it's going to be a tough stretch for the Lakers in the playoffs this year. But then again, shortest offseason of all teams. What do you expect as far as these guys? The Lakers are the fact that they're a 5th seed right now just shows how great that team really can be, including with the guy like LeBron James.
Zach, hold on, wait a minute. Did my ears hear right? Because you were singing a different tune yesterday morning when I texted you and told you about this. You were singing something totally different. But and your exact words. Don't make me pull it up because I will pull it up. All right, but your exact words were this, and I quote. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, as I pull it up. Your exact words were this: "Playing is stupid, sir. Most years, seeds 9 and 10 are below 500. Don't deserve a chance. 8 is plenty." Is that your words?
That's me. That's not what I just said. I said LeBron calling them out was out of character and out of his position to say that.
Okay, we'll get into the plan itself, but I agree with you. Listen, you could think of this. You could look at this in many ways, and I'm gonna go through my first two, and then when we go into playing as itself, I'll get into my last one. That came out really crybaby-esque, or as like. I mean, Zach, I joke about calling him the king crybaby, but I think that was front and center. I mean, your team was on a 3 to 4 game losing streak. They're 7 and 11 without you, and they're 11 and 7 without AD. So my thing is this, Zach, in the midst of a losing streak, and you're about to play in the playing tournament, to say that now, that's really crybabies. And my second look at it is this, Zach. It wasn't a problem in the beginning of the season, Zach. I mean, we heard Mark Cuban and maybe a few other, owners and general managers voice their, opinions, not really frustrations, but opinions. But now it's a problem because you're in it. You're going to be in it. I mean, let's be realistic. They're probably going to be in it. I mean, they're Anthony Davis. He looked nice last night, but that was his first game that he actually looked great in four tries ever since his injury. I mean, Zach, I don't understand why it's a problem now. And the problem, if you're going to, Zach, you told me, if you're going to stick to something, stick with it and start with it and stick with it.
I don't think you talked about it before. It's never been brought to him before because it's never been an issue.
But it's one of those, I mean, Zach, a lot of things are his issue, but he brings it up himself. Like, that's why I call LeBron James the most influential athlete. I mean, we've seen him speak on a lot of things that arguably he could just turn his head and not say a word about, but he does. So when it's in your own company, when it's in your own league, you are supposedly the face, Zach, even though you know how there's multiple faces in the NBA. And now it's a problem because you're going to have to be in it. You can't do that. Zach, remember in the beginning when we first started this show and when the NBA announced that it was coming back, and you remember how I was really critical of the Lakers, and as many times as they proved me wrong, I stuck with it. Well, guess what, Zach? That's what you have to do if you're this one. If you're LeBron James, you have a problem with the playing tournament, you should have said that in the beginning of the year. And then when you look at it now, I wouldn't be, well, yeah, it kind of comes with crybaby, but remember, he did say something about before. Zach, this is just bad timing to LeBron James, and not a great look.
Not a great look at all. He came off very childish. He's gotten away with saying a lot of stuff this year, and I'm not going to get into it. And I'm not going to – there's things he said that I agree with. There's things that he has said that have ruffled some feathers. Some call premature in certain instances, and that goes from everything: basketball, politics, civil rights issues, voting law issues, and a lot more. He's been very vocal. And one of the consequences of being vocal is you're going to have pushback. And this is certainly not a case where the majority agree with him. And that's rare for LeBron James. LeBron James, as a person, has been in a position where the majority of his people, anyone who watches basketball, anyone who looks to him as an idol, have agreed with him. This is probably the first time in a long time he said something controversial that the majority of people don't really agree with him on. And look, Lakers are not. It's not a cakewalk. They play the Clippers tomorrow. I'm not even sure if LeBron's playing in that game. If he is, he's not playing.
No, he's also
on Friday against Portland, and then they host Phoenix, and then they got to host New York, who is good. The Knicks can stop being good. It's not funny anymore. But they're winning a lot of games right now, Gavin. They're shutting teams down defensively. They play the Rockets at home, which is a win. The Pacers a win, and they end the season against the Pelicans. These next 4 games: Clippers, Trailblazers, Suns, Knicks. You're not winning all of them. You'll be lucky to get one of them, 2 of them. The Lakers are in serious trouble. But if LeBron's healthy for it, then if they're the 7, they'll most likely play Golden State, Portland, or the Grizzlies. If they play Portland, I'm scared because Portland can get them in a
What
one-game
about
thing.
the Grizzlies?
Not the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, the Warriors, and the Spurs, I'm not threatened by. If you're in a situation where you're the 7th seed and you're defending champions and your team is now healthy, if you can't beat the 8th seed to make your way into the playoffs, you don't deserve to be there. Even if you lose then, all you have to do is go on and win another game. It's that simple. Now, the play-in tournament, we'll talk about that in a minute. But as far as this is concerned, the Lakers' schedule is not easy. They are in a lot of trouble.
When it comes to the Grizzlies, Zach, I think you have to be mindful of them. Remember, Zach, this is a team that almost did beat them in LA. It came down to the wire, and then ultimately the Lakers in the last 5 minutes ran out for the game. But the Grizzlies have Jaren Jackson Jr. now. And depending on what John Morant you get, that could be a scary matchup. Zach, we know the Golden State Warriors is really Curry and Curry versus all. And maybe and here and there you'll get help from Andrew Wiggins or Kelly Oubre Jr. But if Steph Curry's having one of those nights where he did in Philadelphia, where where everything is green light, you could lose that game too. I mean, and Portland
certainly could. Them, and that's why they're so dangerous, is because Portland and Golden State can fluctuate in 3-point shooting. One game thing.
And something about Damian Lillard, when it comes to when they need him the most, he's there. So if you're LeBron James, who I'm gonna be honest, Zach, when he even played those last 2 games, he did not look his best at all to begin with. Let's disregard the ankle soreness. Just look at the lack of carrying, the lackadaisical play all around, missing passes. Airmailing passes, making careless mistakes defensively. It's not looking good. And I will say this. I would say that Anthony Davis is the key to the playoffs. His health, and honestly, it is. If Anthony Davis is 90%, and you can get your at least stand a chance, but if your so-called leader is not even 50% like he is now, there's no first round for you guys. There might not even be any playoffs for you guys. And if I'm the Lakers, Zach, I'm going to sit down with LeBron James and Anthony Davis completely and be like, how much do y'all really want it? That's what you have to sit there and think about. And I'm not the one that could say, stop playing and give up on the team when you have a chance. But you have to sit down and think about it. How much do you really want it? Anthony Davis is coming off a serious injury where, Zach, I saw it go down with Kevin Durant. We thought it was one thing, and it ended up being something totally different. And Kevin Durant didn't come back for a whole year. And Kevin Durant's 7 foot, damn near. And Anthony Davis is damn near 7 foot as well. So you have to ask those two guys, how badly do y'all want it? And remember, the West is better. No one expect the Suns to be in the first seed in the West. We have to talk about it at some point. No one expect the Utah Jazz to be shooting the West out of orbit. No one expect the Clippers to play as they are, even though there's on 3-game skid. And even though the Lakers beat the Nuggets last night, Nikola Jokic is arguably the MVP, maybe even MVP. And I heard him say it. And then that's just the West. Zach, look at the East Coast. Brooklyn, if they get everybody back healthy. Giannis, if he can figure out what's wrong in the playoffs. And Zach, our beloved Sixers, if they can get it going and keep hitting shots and running through Embiid. The competition is tough this year. So you have to sit down with Booty. If you're Rob Pelinka, and you're Jeannie Buss, you have to look at them guys and like, your healths aren't the best. How badly do y'all want it?
This is unprecedented. The whole bubble, the shortened offseason.
But you can say the same thing about the Heat too. But look at they're thriving. So I don't hear that.
What's Miami's record? They're maybe a tad bit above 500. The Miami Heat are 5 games above 500 at most. They're on a 3-game winning streak given. But it's taken them a while too. Both teams that have struggled. They were on a shortened offseason. It's tough for both of them. I don't see the Lakers as a clear-cut favorite. I don't see anybody as a clear-cut favorite. This is a competitive year, Gavin. You're absolutely right. Now, coming up after this, the part that we have to break down as well, what are thoughts on the play-in tournament? Yes, it makes games more interesting, later in the year at least. But are these teams really worth watching? Here are our thoughts after this. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewer's choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. Let's get to it. For those who may or may not know, the play-in tournament came last year as a temporary patch for a shortened season. This year as well, it is viewed as The 7 through 10 seeds all have to play each other in a similar round robin style. If you're the 7th seed, you play the 8th seed. You win and you're in. If you're the 9th seed, you play the 10th seed. If you win, you face the winner of the loser of the 7 and the 8, and the winner of that will then get the 8 seed. It's an interesting one for me, but I don't love it, and here's why. First of all, in the Eastern Conference most years, seeds between 7 down are below 500. In the West, it's usually 8 or 9 down. And yes, it makes the Spurs, Pelicans, Grizzlies maybe, it makes them interesting to watch. And in the Eastern Conference, it makes the Pacers, the Wizards, the Raptors, and which is of big names, interesting to watch. But what are they going to do in the playoffs, man? I mean, you're trying to tell me right now that the Pacers won't get swept by Philly or the Wizards wouldn't get swept by Brooklyn. It's not worth it. These guys are stretching themselves too thin, especially in years where they're rebuilding. You're forcing them to play relevant minutes. Look, it's important to make the playoffs. It's nice, but you don't deserve it. Top 8 teams, most of the time they're above 500. Keep it to that. Don't expand it. Let other teams shut down and let them rebuild correctly the way that they should.
I disagree with you here, and here's why. One, let me help you with the order. It's actually, sir, and my apologies, but it's actually Boston, Charlotte, Indy, and Washington that are in the play for the East. Boston's 3 games above 500. Charlotte's 2 games under, but they got LaMelo Ball back. Indy's 4, and Russ and the Wizards are 5 games below 500. But here's the deal. You look at the East, and it's like, well, Charlotte has some young stars. They can make some noise. They're not gonna win a series, but they can definitely make some noise, turn some heads, make it a little bit tough for maybe a so-called like Brooklyn or somebody. Maybe they steal a game or two. Boston, we know what they bring to the table with Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown and the boys. I gotta explain that. But it's a number 10 for me. Did you see what Russell Westbrook did last night? It's like, I know you're not a big fan of Russell Westbrook, but I mean, 14 points, 24 rebounds, and 21 assists, and vice versa, last 2. That's amazing. Bradley Beal doesn't play out of his mind. He's been the league leader in points all year long, and maybe for a short time when Steph Curry took over. They could be in the playoffs. Now, if you look in the Western Conference, you got Portland, Dallas, and maybe the Lakers as the tie for the 7th seed right now, tied for the 6 and 7. Golden State at 8, Memphis at 9, and San Antonio at 10. The Pelicans on the reach of breaking in. This makes basketball interesting to watch. Zach, in a non-COVID year, this is technically playoff time. All right, let's get that away. That's technically playoff time. We're getting to the point where it's almost the Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals. We're getting to that point. But this makes basketball actually interesting to watch. This makes me want to continue to watch. This makes me want to lock into teams like Golden State, Memphis, Portland, San Antonio, who I don't really watch that much. I mean, I watch Golden State, but I don't really watch the other 3 that much. You have to watch it because that's how important these games are. One win and you're safe. One loss and you're in the play-in. Zach, the Lakers were one bad week or one multiple bad weeks of being in a play-in tournament. Zach, we just saw it. They were in a bad week. They just won last night and they got lucky. I think the play-in tournament is a fantastic idea for a COVID season. When guys are in and out of the lineup, Zach, we saw it with our team where you lose Steph Curry and your Boston, you lose Jason Tatum for a little while, and it takes them a little while to go. I like this idea. Now, in a regular 82-game season, we could talk differently because I don't know about that. But it makes the NBA interesting. It makes the end of the season interesting because guys like that are in the 11th spot and the 10th spot, they start worrying about draft position. They don't care. They know they're done. They start worrying about how high can we get in the draft. Now that you're forcing the 10 seed to actually continue to play, you're forcing the 11 seed to try to care, depending how far back you are. I like this idea. I like it.
What about an 82-game season? Because that's where I draw the line. I think if you can't be a top 8 seed, if you are above 500 in 7 or 8 years out of 10, depending on what conference you're in, you'll make the playoffs. So why are we rewarding teams that are bad just so we can make it more fun to watch?
In an 82-game season, that's your correct.
82-game season. I'm going to pull some previous seasons that are normal, and I'll read them off. But Gavin, thoughts on that?
If you're doing an 82-game season, Zach, you got 82 games to be above 500. You couldn't do it. You don't deserve to be in the playoffs, right?
And I'm looking here.
Go back to last year. Go ahead.
I'm looking here. Big gap, actually. In 2018-2019, the year the Raptors won, the Clippers were the 8 seed. Fun series, by the way. 14 games above 500. The Kings, the 9 seed, 4 games below 500. Eastern Conference, 8 seed were the Detroit Pistons, 500 flat. This year, we are most likely going to see at least, including the play-in, 1, 2, 3 in the East above 500, below 500. In the West, you'll see 1, maybe 2. That's my point, is that we're rewarding teams that aren't above 500. Given it's a COVID year, I understand that. But again, tying back to LeBron, I think that he was wrong in his comments, at least wrong timing, wrong place. But in a regular season, you get 82 games. This year it's 10 less, limited fans. It's unfair for some team, whatever. I get it.
Go back to last year. Remember the problem we had last year. Go back to last year.
In a COVID-shortened season, we're looking at the 8 seed being 7 games below 500 in the East.
Pull up.
I'm looking at 4 games below 500 in the West. It's simple. The NBA playoffs are set up perfectly. If you're 500 or above, if you're 500 or above in the East, you're guaranteed to make the playoffs almost. In the West, 3 or 4 games above 500. Maybe a play-in in the West could be a conversation, but that's not really fair between the two. I think 8 seeds is plenty. It does the job. The 1 and the 8 are very rarely competitive. The 2 and the 7 is where it gets competitive, but that's what I'm saying is the 1 and the 8, especially this year, if a 10 gets lucky, they're going to get crushed in the first round. I don't like the play-in at all.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me propose this to you. Go back to last year. Go back to the bubble second. Remember we were talking about how the Pelicans and I want to say the Grizzlies and the Blazers were all in a half game of each other for that last spot in the West, right?
Pelicans finished last year, by the way, 30 and 42.
Okay.
12 games below 500.
Okay, but let's just think of the bubble. So remember, they were a team that was a half was maybe a win and another team lost, or 2 wins and a Grizzlies loss in the playoffs. And you have the Blazers, who were just a win and the Grizzlies lost in the playoffs. Those are things that we're playing games when you're a half game or a game out of the 8th spot.
But you're below 5. You're not a good basketball team. You're below 5. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't. Again, it's interesting and it's fun, but you're not a fundamentally good team. The Blazers got gentlemen swept in the first round.
I understand that, but when it's close, like it was last year for that West spot. Now, I don't agree with giving the Kings and the Spurs a chance, because even though the Spurs ran the table and the Suns really ran the table. But
the Suns really did. They finished 5 games below 500 on an 8-game winning streak.
And an 8-game winning streak, the best team in the bubble. But here's the deal, Zach. If it's close, and if I'm Adam Silver, if I am the commissioner of the NBA, and I'm going back to an 82-game season, I'm gonna say, you know what? The hell, play-in tournament only if it's a game and a half game between the 9 and the 8, or however close 10 is, but it has to be earned. It has to be worth it. If the East is locked up, Zach, let's say the East is the next team is 3 games out, they're not getting a play-in. They don't deserve it. You gotta be close. That's my opinion. If you're gonna do a play-in, you have to be close. You have to be relatively close to each other, like they were last year. Remember, we called it the Damian Lillard expedition for a reason. Zach, he was close. He said he didn't want to go. He wasn't gonna get a fair chance.
And they lost him 5 in the first round. He didn't get hurt till game 4, so I don't want to hear that either.
Well, first of all, you know how I feel.
Any team, Gavin, no team was beating the Lakers. And I'm looking back here at the records. It's pretty clear cut. You're above 500, you're in the playoffs. That's not the case in baseball. It's not the case in football in most cases. You got to be at least 2-3 games above in football, which is a lot. Talking 10-6, 11-5 in some wild card years.
I mean, this year was 8-8, winner for us, right?
For Chicago, it was 8-8, yes. But in most years, 8 seed is enough. I understand it for this year. But again, tying it back, LeBron out of place with his comments. With that being said, we'll continue to cover this as we progress throughout the week. Look, during the playoffs, we're going to be doing a lot of shows. I know we've been a little slow, but as my school schedule gets a little easier, we'll be able to navigate a little bit more. Continue to provide for all of you. Again, the Flyers officially eliminated from the playoffs. Phillies are on, I think, right now underway. A quick few notes on them. I'm not optimistic right now. Offense is fine. The bullpen is really bad.
Hold on, Zach. Wait, let's talk about it. Are you back to planet Earth? Are you back? Are you Zach?
McCutcheon had a leadoff home run.
To Blasphemous,ville. How was your trip? How was it?
It was fun.
It was fun.
The Phillies have a significant problem in the outfield for starters, and the pitching staff is weak. No reason to believe that they can't still win this division, but I'm becoming less of a believer. I'm going to hold my stance. They make the playoffs. They're half game back. You win tonight, you're at 500 again. They just have to get healthy. The pitching staff is a little bit banged up. Segura's got to get healthy, and they got to make a trade in center field. Until then, I can't say much.
Who would you bring in? Who's on the move?
Could trade for Mookie Betts a few years ago, but that's a little out of reach.
Could have had Mookie Betts for Scott Kingery and a bag of chips, and because I mean, all they really gave away was Alex Verdugo. That's it. And you could have
probably would Nola would probably been, not Nola, maybe someone with potential would have been involved in that trade. Nick Pivetta could have been. He's in Boston now anyway, doing well for them. But other than that, interesting one.
Brandon Workman, who got work, man. Come on.
Brandon Workman.
That works.
Yeah, interesting. 1-1 is the score right now. Andrew McCutcheon lead off home run. Eric Lauer is the pitcher, if I pronounced that right. And affiliates Aaron Nola. And he's already given up a earned run. So interesting one. We'll continue to cover it. We'll get some longer shows in this week. We're looking forward to it. Cover the draft a little bit. We'll continue to cover it in more detail this week. That was on Saturday. With that being said, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Gavin and I a little bit debating whether or not the playing games are worth it. We'll continue to cover it. Looking forward to it. Have a great night, everybody.
Have a good one, everybody. Shaq, they're worth it. Come on now. LeBron's crybaby. You're just listening to him.
We'll see. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our videos.